What's up guys, this is Josh from KeepItTechie, and today I want to do a quick video showing you guys how to anonymize your internet traffic using Proxychains and Tor. So as I stated in the intro of the video, I wanted to show you guys Proxychains and Tor. And basically this will allow you to anonymize your internet traffic using those two applications. So if you follow along with me, this will assist you with accomplishing that. And you guys know that's one of the reasons I use Linux all the time, and I talk about Linux because I like to be anonymous online if I can. And a lot of people say there's no such thing as anonymity on the internet, but there are some things that you can do to help mitigate your digital footprint online. And these two applications working in tandem together will allow you to do that as best you can. Now let's go on and switch over to my virtual machine. I have Kali Linux installed, the current version of Kali Linux, and I want to show you how to use these two applications and walk you through the full process of actually setting it up so you can anonymize your browser session. So let's get started. Okay, cool. So I have Kali Linux up. I am logged into the system. This is Kali 21. It doesn't matter which one you got, but I just wanted to show you guys on Kali because I'm planning on starting to do a little bit more cybersecurity videos, just showing you some of the stuff on Linux, and so that's why I decided to use Kali Linux. But let's open up the terminal and let's go down and show you guys how to install Proxychain and Tor. And what I'm planning on installing is Tor the service. That's what you want to have installed, Tor the service. It's kind of like when you have Apache server running, it runs as a service in the background. You don't actually see anything, or you don't have a Tor browser installed or anything. It's just straight up Tor service. And what it'll do is connect to the Tor network, and anything you push through the Tor service will go through the Tor network. So you have to use these two applications in tandem in order to get it to work properly. And so let's go on and install right fast. And the way you do it is simply sudo apt install. And the first thing actually you want to do is update your system. I just recently ran updates on my system, so I know it's no updates for this Kali box that I have. I'm gonna just run it anyway just so you guys can see, but it says all packages are up to date. And then now let's install the application. So sudo apt install, and then the two packages that we want to install is Proxychains and then Tor. And we can, install multiple applications, but it's Tor and not Tor browser. I just want to stress that you only need to install a service. So let's press enter, and then let's go on and install both of these applications. And they may already be installed, I'm not 100% sure. And it looks like it has to install Tor on here, so we'll just wait for this to actually finish. Shouldn't take too long. It's actually installing both of them. It's installing Proxychains and Tor, so neither one of them were on the system. But you can do the exact same thing on any other distribution to install these applications. They should be in most repositories for any distribution that you have installed. Now that we have both of those applications installed, first thing you want to do is configure Proxychain. So I'm gonna show you guys how to actually do that. The configuration file is located under the etc directory. So you can use whatever text manager or text editor you want to. I'm gonna use Nano because it's the easiest. That's the one I've always used. But let's find the file right fast. So configuration file is under etc and then proxychains.conf, and press enter, and that'll open up the configuration file for Proxychains. And I want to go down and show you a few things right fast. There are a couple different ways to connect, or for it to actually connect. It'll use dynamic. You can use dynamic, which is what I always use. You can use strict or random. Now strict, pretty much all it does, basically what this does is it specifies how you want the proxies to be connected and the kind of order that you want it to connect in. Now dynamic is pretty much the best way to do it. That's the way I actually do it. So I'm gonna actually delete the hashtag, because that's how you comment something out in the actual configuration file, and then I'm going to comment out the strict. So I'm gonna put a hashtag there for strict, but we want to use dynamic. That's the way I've always used it. You guys can actually use it that way if you want to, or use strict. It doesn't matter. Either way, the dynamic, it says basically each connection will be done via chain proxies. At least one proxy must be online to play in chain. Dead proxies are skipped. Otherwise, EINT or is returned to the application. And then strict is basically each connection will be done via chain proxy. All proxy chains in the order as they appear in the list. All proxy chains must be online to play in the chain. So that's one of the main differences right there. They all have to be online, but dynamic, that can have some dead proxies. So just wanted to kind of explain that to you. And then random, it'll just randomize the chain that you connect. And then they also have a couple of options in here as well, like make sense only if random chain. So that's what this is for. This is chain length. And then quiet mode. And just to explain the chain length, it just depends on how many you have listed at the bottom. And if you have random set, it just specifies that you want it to run through at least 2 chains in a random fashion. Now they got quiet mode, so now no output from library. And then proxy DNS requests. Now this is something that's very important. You want to make sure you have this uncommented. If it is commented out, by default it shouldn't be commented, but this is required so you don't have any leaks of DNS data or DNS information. And what that means is people can find out what your location is based on the DNS servers that you're querying through, because each time you try to make a connection to a website, it makes a DNS request first, and it returns the DNS information or the actual domain IP address from the DNS server. That's basically what it's doing. It's doing a lookup. It's when you type in, let's say KeepItTechie.com, it goes out to a DNS server first to find out what the IP address is, because the computer can't understand the domain name. It needs to understand it needs to see the IP address in order to know where it needs to go. So the domain name is translated on the DNS server, and it sends back the IP address, and then your computer is like, okay, this is where I go to that website. I go to this IP address to actually pull up this website. So that's what DNS actually does. Now, when you have Proxy DNS set up, it funnels all your DNS requests through the proxy chain. So therefore, it looks as though the request is coming from wherever your connection is, and not your local connection or your connection in your home from your local ISP, which most people have it set up that way, where DNS is done by your local ISP, which I don't recommend you do. You can want to kind of use like Google or Cloudflare, one of those DNS servers out there, to do all your requests through. But that's what this will actually solve. So it's good to actually have that set up or that option enabled. And then right here, this is some timeout request. So you can change, it's basically the timeout, read timeout. It's just the times. You could change it if you want to, but that's in milliseconds, as you can see. So all you have to do is put it in milliseconds. Now down here is the format. This is kind of like example proxy list format. This kind of shows you how to actually list them out, but below that is the actual list. So this is where you actually put in your list of proxies, servers that you want to connect to. Now the default is already set up to use SOX4 and on the Tor network. So it'll go through by default. When you install this thing, it's already configured to run through Tor, so you don't really have to make any changes to this, but you know, you can if you want to. And then a lot of times I used to have SOX 5 here, because I mean, it's just a little bit different. There are some benefits from SOX 4 versus SOX 5 that I won't go into, but you can actually use SOX 5 as well, or add that to the list if you want to. So 127.0.0.1, that's basically your address that goes through Tor. It goes through the port 9050, and that way all your internet traffic through Proxychains application will go through that Tor network using that port right there. So we're good to go. That's all we had to do, or configure in this configuration file. Let's press Control X and then Y for yes to save, and press enter, and that'll write those changes to the actual configuration file. Now that that's done, the next thing you want to actually do is start the Tor service, because it's just like any other application, like Apache. Some of those applications, it'll automatically enable the application for you, or start the application for you, the service in the background for you. But with Tor, it doesn't. So you want to at least make sure that it starts, or it's enabled and everything. So what I typically do is just type sudo systemctl, and this system uses systemd, so we have to enable it this way. So systemctl, and then enable, and then tor dot service, and I'm gonna tab it out so it'll go down and do it, but that'll enable it, and it basically creates a symbolic link to the actual file and enable tor dot service as a stored up application. So that's one thing that is actually doing. Now, one thing you could do is actually store it after this, because it doesn't automatically store it, or it may have stored it, I'm not sure, but I'm gonna just run store it anyway just to make sure. And as you can see, we didn't get any return back, so it stored that service, and it only takes a second to actually store it. Now let's go down and check the status of it. We can do that by typing systemctl and then status, and I apologize, I tabbed, but let's check out the Tor.service and just make sure it's good. And I missed the T, press tab, press enter, there we go. So as you can see, the application is started, is active and enabled. This will let you know right here that it is enabled. So anytime you restart the system, the Tor service is actually started and running in the background. So you want to follow those steps to enable Tor.service, and start it currently, and then you can check the status whenever you want to. But each time, you can check this just to make sure that it's actually running. In the background, you can run the status command that'll let you know that it's actually running and active and enabled. So we're good to go. Now let's go down and close this, and let me go down and show you guys how to use the Proxychain program. Now I'm gonna just press Control L, and that'll clear the screen. That'll clear all that mess out, make it kind of clean for us, so I can show you guys how to actually use it. Now the first thing I like to always do is show you guys the man page. So I'm gonna show you guys that first, and this will give you an understanding of how to actually use the Proxychain command. So Proxychains, and press enter. That'll bring up the man page. It basically says Proxychains for redirect connections through proxy servers, and we have our configuration set up to run through Tor, so we're good to go on that. But this will give you some information on how to actually use it if you need a little help. This manual has some information in there that I actually help you, some examples and all that stuff. But now let's go down and run it. So I'm gonna run Proxychains, and then I'm gonna use my browser. I'm gonna use Firefox. I know Firefox is installed on this system because that's the default browser with Kali Linux. But Firefox, and then let's check what is my IP.com, and that's the site I go to just to check my IP. Just see, it'll open up the Firefox browser, and if you look back at the terminal, you'll see the whole process. You know what I'm saying? It's going through and actually running everything through Proxychains, through the Tor network. As you can see, dynamic chains. It says denied right there for some reason, but it's actually going through and connecting through the Tor network. And then you'll see once it actually brings up the site that my IP address is in Zurich. So it's going through the Tor network. That lets you know right there that you're good to go. So your ISP, or it looks like you're in a different location. So this whole session now is running through Tor. So that's super cool right there. So any other website you go to, you know what I'm saying, in here, it's gonna look like you're coming through Zord, because we opened this using Proxychain. So super dope. Now let me go down and close it. I'm gonna just go down and close it, and then I'm gonna run this to another website just to show you guys. But it does give you all the information. It says message loss, you know, all that good stuff. It's just basically saying that I closed out the session. So that session is basically closed. Now let's go on and run it against another website, and let's try maybe DNS leak test. That is another website, you know, I used back when I was actually, you know, playing around with Kali, just trying to understand how this all works in proxy chains and all that stuff. But this is a way to actually test if your DNS is leaking. And I'm sorry, it's dnsleaktest.com, and press enter, and this will open up another browser. And I just wanted to run it again. I could have just opened it up in that same browser, but I just wanted to create another session so you guys can kind of see that it's pulling it all up through Tor. And one thing about the Tor network, most people, if you know about Tor, you know that it's actually very slow when it comes to, you know, opening up websites. So let's go and do a standard test, and this may take a little while. We'll see. It says loading right there, but it'll take a little while to actually run the test, and this will let you know if any of your queries are being leaked, your DNS queries. And this website gives you a lot of information on DNS leak. You can, you know, read some of these articles, and it'll explain to you what DNS leaking and how you can be found out by not running your DNS through either a proxy or something like that. Now, as you can see, it's going through, this breaks down the whole process. It's going through Frankfurt and then Switzerland. So good to go. And that's the IP addresses that it's going through to do our queries. And that is super dope to actually see that, you know, all your DNS traffic is going through these proxy servers as well as Tor. You know what I'm saying? So you get to go with that. Now you can actually run proxy chains using other applications. So I'm waiting for that to close out. Yeah, that closed out. But let's say you want to use the dig command, or you want to dig for an IP address using the domain name. Well, you can run that through proxy chains as well. So if we type proxy chains, and then let's say you want to dig, this is a DNS tool that allow you to dig for the IP address for a domain name. But I'm gonna run it against KeepItTechie.com so you guys can actually see that it'll return the IP address, and it's actually running this through proxy chains. You know what I'm saying? It's running the whole query through proxy chains. So that's super dope that it's actually doing that. And it only took a second because I think I digged it not that long ago on this same system. So it's stored somewhere where it didn't take too long to actually find out the IP address. But you can also run, like, let's say an nmap. So we can run proxy chains, and then let's run the nmap command, and then let's look for open ports for KeepItTechie.com. And I could have put the IP address, but whatever, I'm gonna just put KeepItTechie.com, press enter, and then so I actually go through and I actually spelled it wrong. I forgot the X, so let's go back in here and run it again, press enter, boom boom boom, and this will go through and get you the open ports for this actual server, running them through proxy chains. And as you can see, it's kind of taking a while because, like I said, it's going through, you know, the Tor network, so it will take a while. But as you can see, port 80 is open, and when you run this command, actually nmap -open, it normally just returns the open ports for this actual server, but you know, it's running through the process and taking a little while to actually go through it. But that's pretty much how proxy chains actually work and the Tor service actually works. But anyway, I'm not gonna go through and wait for this to actually finish. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. But that is how you use Proxychains. This will help you be anonymous on the web as much as you can. You know what I'm saying? This will allow you to route all your traffic through proxies as well as the Tor network. So follow these steps and that'll go through and set you guys up so you can be a little bit more anonymous on the web. But please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and of course, keep it techie.